This is episode number 510 of the Health and Fitness Podcast by InnerFight, brought to you in association with Smith Street Paleo. Please do hop over to smithstreetpaleo.com, check out all the good food you can get on a meal plan, or you can just order some yummy snacks to be delivered right to your home or office. Hey folks, so here we are. As promised, there are some weekly updates that we're going to drop in at the front of the show. This weekend, 19.5, it is the last open workout for 2019, and after that on Saturday we're going to be hopping out, having a little bit of friendship, couple of drinks down at one of the beach clubs here in Dubai. If you want to get involved in that, hop over to our Instagram, InnerFight, and give us a DM. There'll be some details on that as well. We'd love to share a little bit of time with people if you're available and around for that. Post the open, what's actually going to be happening is we're going to be touching in on a lot of the other skills, or a lot of the skills that maybe you found you were a little bit short of in the open. So please make sure you hop into gymnastics classes and weightlifting classes before we kick off something super special that's coming up for Ramadan. Stay tuned for that one. It's going to be huge, a big Ramadan challenge that we've got coming in this year. Also, a couple of things to mention. Some of you might be into or interested in obstacle course racing. You might have heard of Do Tough Mudder. You might have heard of Spartan races. Desert Warrior was one of the originals that I did over here in Dubai. We've now got a guy on board, George Crew, who is one of the elite Spartan racers of the region, and he is an obstacle course racing coach as well. So George is taking people through a lot of running to prepare them for these obstacle course races, as well as a grip session, which happens here at InnerFight on a Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. and also stadium sessions, which happen at Sports City Track at 6 a.m. on a Thursday morning. So there are a couple of updates there on that side. Also on the endurance side, for those of you that haven't seen, we've got a new coach that has joined, Jenn Gibbons from New Zealand, and she's coaching a lot of different people. She specializes as well in swimming, where she started some swimming coaching lessons. Get in touch with InnerFight Endurance if you want to know more about that from her. She also is very good at taking females into the sport of triathlon, into the sport of endurance. They're the updates for this week. Let's jump into today's show. Welcome back to another edition of the show, folks. This is episode number 510. I've got Andre back with me, and we are going to take your questions. This is all about listener, user-generated content, mate.
We have received a lot of questions.
I mean, mate, we've recycled a few of these from my Instagram Q&A. Yep. Obviously, weekly, I do a Q&A over there. We also put it out on the InnerFight Instagram through that question box. You've used the question box before on Instagram, mate. Thoughts? I think you've used it once.
Yeah, I haven't used it much, to be honest. I should probably use it more.
Yeah.
As it's like everybody has like that one, ask a question or whatever. But yeah, it seems so. Like the one time I did it, I got a lot of like people reaching out. So
a lot of interesting questions.
Some okay ones, yeah.
Do you watch, like, there's quite a lot of people obviously on social media that do use that question box to try and obviously engage with their followers.
Yeah.
Do you follow many people that like do a frequent Q&A and find it interesting?
Yeah, actually do. The training think tank, they have like a weekly Q&A with one of their coaches.
Right.
And he'll like give super thorough answers. And there's like a rule, you can ask 2 questions and he'll give you like a super detailed answer. Like I follow that one. I follow one from a guy named Coach Eugene Teo, also just a trainer, and he also gives super good answers. So, like, I think there's different levels of...
What's your version? What's the sweet spot? Because Instagram's difficult. I mean, I do my Q&A weekly, and I always try and answer the question within 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like I'm going, you know, trying to get it done.
Yeah.
For you, what makes a good answer to a question? Like, what makes a good Q&A on Instagram?
Something that's short and sweet, you know, something that just hits exactly what you need to know, doesn't go into too much depth. If you want to know more, either your question wasn't specific enough, or you just asked too broad of a topic. Yeah. So I think something that can be short and sweet like that is
so if you
perfect.
Can get it in 15, if you can get an answer in 15 seconds that maybe gives you a bit of information, maybe leads on to a bit of wider thought, then you're happy.
And it also comes down to the questions, right?
Yeah, true. I mean, mate, for me personally, I always watch Brian Keane Fitness. Yeah. I always watch his Q&A, and he does some really interesting things. He manages to get it in 15 seconds. He always writes a bit of advice on the screen. so that you know, even if you've listened, but you're like, holy shit, he just gave me a lot in 15 seconds. Like that one piece of advice, his major call out, really stands out. So I think he's doing a good job. But I'll tell you, mate, it takes forever.
Yeah, I think people don't, like, they forget about that. Like, it really takes a long time to do these things. And that's honestly also why I haven't been doing it much, simply because it's really time consuming. Like, you can spend a few hours easily doing that.
Yeah, exactly, man. And it depends, like you say, how deep you go into the questions. Yeah. But I try and just sort of really ad-lib all of mine, so I don't prepare them too much. I read them and then I come up with an answer on the spot. And it'll still take me at least 20 minutes on a weekly basis to get it out there. And also I think for my followers, a lot of the time it's like, do I want to give them 10 minutes of Q&A? Are people really interested, or they just flick to the next? So, but it's interesting, mate, and we've got a lot of cool questions. First question I wanted to ask you, mate, which is not on the Q&A, is we're 4 weeks into the Open. We haven't really had too much updates about the Open yet. What's your thoughts? How do you see it? How are you sitting? Give us your sort of, Andre, couple of minute wrap up of the Open so far.
I think the programming so far has been excellent.
Yeah.
We have seen in week 1 a super basic workout. I think it was very nice that they started the Open out with a 16-minute AMRAP with 19 wall balls, 19 cal rows, something that everyone, even at the entry level, could do. And most people could actually do RX, which was quite awesome to see the community come together and have a good start in the Open. Personally, I think that it's been really good so far. The second week we had a repeat from 2016, a super tough workout that demanded very high capacity in both gymnastics, just general engine, and cleans. And in the third week, we have seen some very high-level gymnastics with handstand push-ups and handstand walk. But again, I think they managed to scale it super well for it to be able for everyone kind of to get a good workout in, despite not maybe being able to do many strict handstand push-ups. Currently, I'm in the competition for Denmark as you're representing your country, unless you expect to be top 20 worldwide.
Yep.
I'm sitting in 4th in Denmark right now. There is some potential to move up to 3rd.
Yep.
And 1st and 2nd right now sitting quite strongly. The guy in 1st is sitting 6th in the world, and the guy in 2nd is sitting something like 18th in the world. So they're doing an amazing job. And I'm obviously not satisfied with being in 4th, but I also recognize that I'm getting outworked by someone, or like these guys are just better than me.
Mate, Frederick Egidius, who's number 1 in your country, who's number 6 in the world, has probably been to the games at least 6 to 7 times.
Yeah, something like that. And there's a guy, like the second guy is Kasper Garmelmark. He's been to regional 7 times as well. And the third guy is Rasmus Wiesbeck. He's been to the games 5 or 6 times.
So you're not getting beaten by Matt Jones?
No.
Fortunately or unfortunately. So, mate, you're doing a good job. Yeah. Let's just spend a couple more minutes on the Open, mate. You said you like the workouts a lot so far. They're quite different but challenging. We've also had some chats about scaled version RX. Some people have been saying, the scaled version is probably a little bit too hard, is it? You know, we saw in the one that you spoke about with the gymnastics movement, we've never seen a handstand push-up in Open strict before. Now we're seeing a strict handstand push-up for scaled. What's your kind of deeper thoughts on the programming side of it, mate?
I generally think the scale has been super good this year. I think the strict handstand push-up was difficult, but the way it was programmed was that everyone could get through all the lunges and all the step-ups, so they would still have quite a large amount of the workout done.
Yep.
So instead of having to they could have put the 50 in the beginning.
Yeah.
And that would have been a disaster.
Yeah.
That's like the year when they put 7 ring muscle ups in the first bit.
Yeah.
And that was also quite rough. So I think the way they program it this year, that you at least got to do 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 minutes of work.
Yeah. And
then you were able to attempt. Then I think they're also just looking for, when we celebrate someone getting their first pull up or whatever, this was another chance, and I think the scale was pretty decent for that.
Yeah.
And the box was quite wide. There was some potential, and I think also the Open needs to leave people with hunger for wanting to get better.
Yeah.
So if you couldn't get those handstand push-ups, well, maybe that's just going to fire you up even more to try to get it, because it is an essential skill in the sport, and I think it's a pretty cool thing to be able to do, just like a strict pull-up.
I agree with you, mate. I think if we continue to put, if we're talking about the scale section, really, which we are here, and how challenging these workouts are, if we continue to put, just jumping pull-ups, then what's the motivation for someone in the scale category to actually go to a pull-up because they're never going to get there, especially, well, if they look at that and they go, okay, it's jumping pull-ups for me, but it's ring muscle-ups for the RX or for Andre. It's like that gap is so huge. Now what we're doing is sort of, we're bringing the bottom up, the standard from the bottom higher, so which is got to be beneficial for everyone.
And it's the open, right? Like, I don't look at it as it is. You just need to come and have a good workout.
No.
Like, you are having good workouts all year in the classes.
Yes.
This is a challenge.
Yeah.
Now,
it should be all in, right?
If, like that's 5 weeks of ups and downs, and you get punched in the face and you get straight back up, and you have wins, you have losses, like, or perceived failures, and you just keep kind of bouncing back. And it's been really awesome this year in InnerFight especially. I think we've really been able to up the game, and all the coaches are doing the workout on Saturdays almost,
nice,
and it's just so good to see everyone kind of leaving their ego behind and just throwing it down all together. And I think that's what the Open is all about. So whether you got your first strict handstand push-up with an ab mat or not, that shouldn't take you down. It should just motivate you. And I mean, we have gymnastic classes, we have weightlifting classes. If there's anything you have a hole with, you should definitely just
hop into them.
Ask one of the coaches what it requires, and jump straight in.
And I mean, mate, that's what we're talking about in our weekly Coach to Coach just before we start recording the show, is sort of what's the plan now for the month after, knowing that this weekend coming is the last open workout that we've got. What's the plan for the programming? And what we're trying to do is plug a few of those holes for people. So whilst people have had, and this is the great thing about the Open, I've always loved it, it just exposes people. And the strong people, or the ones with a growth mindset, are going to get up and go, okay, I'm ready to improve. Yep, I'm going to do exactly what you just said. I'm going to get into the weightlifting class. I'm going to get into that gymnastics class. I'm going to be going up to you, the guy that writes gymnastics, and going, listen, mate, I failed on my handstand push-ups. When is it coming in the gymnastics class? And I think we're really excited about the coming sort of 5 to 6 weeks before Ramadan, that we can really sort of upscale people, because those exposures that you had are fresh in your mind, and we just hope that you're not in the same position in a year's time. So
no, and it's your job and our job. We can only help you if you want to be helped. So
if you come and
please reach out, and we're really happy to take you to the next level for October Open. Which is already in 6-7 months.
Open,
so get moving with your skills, so you can maybe do RX or at least do the original scale version.
Absolutely, mate. We're looking forward to doing a whole wrap-up of the Open, maybe a couple of weeks after it finishes and the leaderboards have settled and we kind of know like who those top 20 are in the world, and we've kind of figured out what's going on. But before we get there, mate, final thoughts on the Open. Any prediction for workout 19.5, the final workout in the 2019 Open number 1?
I think the final workout of this year is going to be a 7-minute AMRAP with thrusters.
Yep.
And burpee box jumps.
Wow.
And at the 7-minute mark,
gets better.
30 ring muscle ups 4 time. Boom.
Yeah, that's it, huh?
Time cap 3 minutes.
For the 30 ring muscle ups, so it's a 10-minute workout.
So 10-minute window, something like that. 30 ring muscle ups for time, or 3 minutes, and as many as you can get.
Awesome.
The thrusters would be light and fast, and it'll be super gassy. And for the scaled, I think it's going to be something like that, just scaled down quite a bit. I'm actually not sure how they scale ring muscle ups. I think they scale that to jumping pull-ups or something.
Or chin over bar. They do that for bar muscle ups. I mean, mate, I think everyone's waiting for those thrusters to come out. We've seen it.
What do you think?
I think thrusters will come, mate. I'm looking forward to something a bit fresh, though, like what you sort of said there, something that's completely different. We've seen thruster chest to bar, we've seen thruster rowing, we've seen thruster burpees. They've basically been the final workout of the Open every year, and we're in like the 9th year now. Yeah. I'd like to see something. I mean, I'd love to see thrusters, but I would hate to see a repeat workout because I think I
don't think they're going to do that.
I think we can be better than that.
Yeah.
And I love these different things. Like, I love that last week's workout had a 3-minute break in it. That's the first time I've ever seen something like that. I think that's cool. We've had a time cap extending workout already. Yeah. We've had a longer workout at 16 minutes. So I'd love to see, I would genuinely like to see thrusters, but I'd like to see a bit of creativity as well.
Double dumbbell hang clusters.
I was thinking about dumbbell thrusters, or that movement, mate, and I think it's a very difficult movement to judge accurately, because of, like, when it's a bar, it's quite simple and straightforward. People can go through.
But
like,
last year we had the hang clean and jerks, right?
We had, yeah.
So,
I
don't know if they would put 2 dumbbells though, like setup wise. So it could be like single arm hang clusters or something.
That's another thing as well, mate, is that we haven't really had a dumbbell workout. Okay, well, that one workout last week or the week before last had single dumbbell overhead lunges, but compared to how much dumbbell volume we've had before. So I'd like something relatively short and punchy, definitely with thrusters, but something a little bit OG. I don't want anything that
there's been no kettlebell forever.
I don't think there's ever been a kettlebell in the open, mate.
Honestly, I hope they shake things up. I hope there's going to be bench press and kettlebell snatches or something completely strange that we have not seen before.
In 5 minutes, establish a 1-rep max bench press.
Bang.
Straight into 10-minute AMRAP push-ups. All my training might have pulled off, mate. Let's move to the questions that we've got here. It's a really nice wrap-up of the Open so far. And as I said, we'll look forward in a few weeks' time to really breaking that down when we have all the leaderboards and we know who is potentially going to the games, because it's going to be very interesting this year following on from the shows that we've done. But, mate, I want to kick it off with this question. And I did answer this, but it's from an old member of ours who's now back in the UK, listener of the show, big supporter of the show, Tom Conway Gordon. He asks you directly, what is your favorite muscle group to get a proper pump on? What was muscle group to get a proper pump on? Do you ever walk in and go, I'm going to get a proper pump on today?
So actually my warm-ups quite often, I would have like some stimulative part where I do BFR work. So that's blood flow restriction work, and I would do that with some sled. I guess like my favorite part is probably my lower body, getting my legs pumped up.
Yeah.
I think that's it's been a while since I've gotten like an upper body pump, like from like death by bicep curls or something like that. But so probably some BFR, like sled pushes, just to get my legs firing up. How about you?
I answered that and said bicep curls and tricep pull downs, and then obviously 100 push-ups.
Yeah.
I was thinking that maybe most of the people want to know like how to, this preconception of getting a bit buff for the beach. So I don't know, mate. It's been since back in the day. Like if I've got limited time to train my upper body, I'll always do like a push, which will normally, I think one of the most effective ways, because it activates the core as well, is push-ups. That's kind of why I went on the push-up challenge. I'll always try and do a pull to counteract it, and that could be in a number of different ways. And then you just can't get past, mate. Honestly, if people, and this is probably a little bit of the anti-CrossFit, but if people are thinking arms, like your tricep, read Arnie's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding, your tricep makes your arm look big, and everything we do, so many of the movements that we do in CrossFit, the weakness is in people is in poor triceps, because it's so hard to train. Like you can pull with your bicep the whole day. We're pulling on a bar, we're pulling on rings, we're strengthening the bicep. Yes, I know it's slow for some people, but all of that, the stabilization in the overhead position, a lot of it comes from the tricep. So that actual pushing movement is super important as well. So I love, mate, I reckon I do banded tricep pull downs, not just for vanity reasons, but just for overall health. I do my banded shoulder stuff since my crash 2 to 3 times a week, and I'll at least do once or twice 100 banded pull down tricep extensions.
I think the key is that if you're looking for a pump, is that you pick a movement that is super simple, that where you can go almost beyond failure. So you can't do that with a heavy snatch. You can't do that with strict pull-ups because you'll hit it quickly. You can do it with like elevated ring rows, or depending on your capacity, like even push-ups for some people, that could never be a movement they could get a pump on from.
It's going to break down too quickly.
They're going to break down too quickly. But with like 2 light dumbbells, dumbbell bench press, like something that's super light, go until you break. And then rest 4 minutes and do again something like that would be a different way to do it. Or it could be taking a movement and slowing it down. Like you could do it with a back squat, whatever, 40 kilos on, 10 seconds down, 0 seconds in the bottom, 10 seconds up, 0 seconds in the top. You do 5 to 30 of those.
Time under tension is just insane.
You'll be dead. And the same with the weights for like a barbell. It doesn't matter how strong you are. Take a barbell, bicep curls, 10 seconds up, 10 seconds down. You'll be dead quickly.
Speaking of back squats, I haven't used it for a while now, but one of my previous go-tos, it used to happen mainly on a Sunday or a Monday, would be I'd work out as quickly as I can to a 100 kilo back squat.
Yeah.
And I then just put the clock on for 20 minutes, on the minute, 5 reps for 20 minutes. 100 back squats at 100 kilos, you get a pump on.
Oh, that's a lot. Yeah.
There's a lot, mate. Yeah. I'm not actually sure if I could still do that now, but I used to do that one quite a bit. Mate, going through, what do you like the look of there?
Well, let's take one here from Nick Unaria 19. All strength training exercises a runner needs to do, and how many times a week? This is quite relevant because you guys have just launched the Run Strong. Can you tell us about that? And I mean, that kind of correlates a little bit to answering this question in more depth because it's quite a large question to answer.
It's a big topic, and we're actually going to do another series on strength. We're running a series at the moment on a Sunday about the rise of ultra running, and then we're going to go into another series about like strength training for it, because this is something. There's a lot of run coaches out there, but there's not a lot of people talking about strength. People then, and this is why the backstory here gives us a little bit of context, mate, is that people will start doing strength, and they probably wouldn't go in and do what I said there, 5 back squats on the minute for 20 minutes at 100 kilos, but what they do is they'd go in and they'd do some sort of leg strength work, and they'd find that it's actually regressing them a lot on their running. So what we're doing here with our Run Strong program, which is available, it's been available since the start of March, and it goes monthly and it's progressive. It starts very simply with flexibility and stability, and you don't really need much equipment for it. So slowing things down, like you said, the movements are slow, controlling, being able to do like a single leg deadlift, just reaching forward onto the floor under complete control, not falling over, all those stabilizing muscles as well. That's where this should really start, mate.
Yeah, and it looks easy from like a video's perspective, and then you try to do it.
Yeah.
And I've tried some of it with Tom, and I see Tom and you do it all the time.
Yeah.
So that's also why like this program is legit, because you guys have actually been doing this for a long time.
Exactly, mate. And I think they're the important things, is that and this is where people don't understand how to measure their progress and the effectiveness of a program, is that they might not feel sore tomorrow. Well, if you don't feel sore tomorrow from Run Strong, we're super happy, because it's 3 sessions a week. We presume that if you've got running goals, you're going to be running at least 2 to 3 times a week as a minimum. We don't want you to feel sore tomorrow. What we're looking for is a neurological response. We're looking to fire the muscle fibers but not make you sore. So that's how it should go in. Like, how many times a week with this program I've used, and okay, I didn't use it when I was running my marathons, but I will do this kind of strength work, flexibility, stability work 3 times a week.
How long is the session?
The sessions for Run Strong are actually only about 40 minutes, mate.
Good, 40 minutes.
Some of the feedback we've had is people are like, oh, I don't think it's enough, and this, that, and the other. Like, it's enough because for a lot of people, they need that adaptation as well.
Yeah.
Again, if it was more, then it would create more load, even if it's still with your body weight. And please don't get me wrong, this program progresses. It does need some resistance bands, some kettlebells, and some weights, especially in month 2. But what it does is it limits the time under tension. We were talking about it before. That's how we get the pump on. That's how we get sore. But it's not always the right way to stimulate the response that we're looking for. So again, we don't want you sore for the next day's running. So you're going to do these 3 sessions, 40 minutes. And if the movements are alien to you, it might take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
If they're movements that you've been doing before, it probably will not take. It'll take just under 40 minutes. And you just do it 3 times a week, and you should feel that you can go running the next day.
This is sport specific.
Yep.
And just trust the process.
Yeah,
because this is not this is a program made by people who do the program themselves, and that's where it's key.
I think that's what's important, mate, is that, you know, it's difficult sometimes as coaches to turn around and go, well, listen, I followed this program and I ran 30 marathons in 30 days, so it's all right for you, buddy. Like, I don't want to be that kind of person, but sometimes it's like, just trust it.
Yeah.
You know, and to be honest, mate, and we did a show on InnerFight Endurance Instagram TV talking about the program for about 10 minutes. So if you want to get 10 minutes of me and Tom like really talking about it, go and check that program out, Instagram TV, InnerFight Endurance on Instagram. And he said, you know, one of the things when I started with that program is that, you know, I probably wanted to go a little bit faster. I wanted to rush a bit more. But the key is just to take it down and just to go a little bit slower, mate. And once you get into that mindset, like, it's not So if you're coming from CrossFit, this is why this is important. I know we have a lot of listeners from CrossFit. It's not a Metcon. Like, it's not the conditioning piece.
Oh.
So you might not feel sore the next day, as I say. You might not sweat a lot, but this is going to challenge your body in a number of different ways. And through, we've spoken about it a lot, mate, through different planes of motion. Like, we want to make sure that you're good going laterally, forward, backwards, diagonally, all of this stuff. And we want to activate those muscles that do it. So that's what we'd say. Like, I think that's a pretty sort of comprehensive answer for that one, mate. And you know, the bottom line is that it's a super accessible program. It's $100. You get it at InnerFight.com/shop or InnerFight.com/runstrong. It's there as well. And basically, you just get on and you do it in your home gym or in a facility. And those 3 40-minute sessions a week are there.
Yeah.
Mate, I want to ask you the next question. I actually answered this in my Q&A, and it's from Arish, and I know she's a big follower of the podcast, and she's actually one of my clients. I do a run program. She asks, and this was difficult for me to answer, but she asks, who's your favorite client?
It's a difficult question. Is it remotely or in-house?
Who's your favorite client? Stop buying time.
Okay, my favorite client is actually a remote client from Norway. I've been working with for about a year.
Yeah.
A lot of injuries. He's injury-free right now, and he's sitting 4th in Norway. And this is an exciting project with him.
Right.
And he is like the most dedicated person I've ever met.
Really?
So
let's talk a little bit about that, mate, because I like that. That's one of the qualities. He's the most dedicated. What makes you pick a particular, not this guy, but what qualities are you looking for in a client? I think that's a better way to frame this question.
Initiative thinking. So that means that rather than having to, like, always looking for the answer in themselves before they ask you.
Yeah.
And then search for guidance. So, like, let's take an example. I've put a workout on. The load feels too heavy for some reason.
Yeah.
So the self-thinking would be, I'm just going to lower the load and then let him know if that was a good substitute. A non-self-thinking athlete will stop the workout and send a message to their coach saying, the weight is too heavy, what should I do?
Right.
So I think self-thinking, and I think just communication.
Yeah.
Being really good at and honest, communicating, reporting all metrics, really getting detail with how things are going, where they're going, asking themselves questions of what they want to do goal-wise. It can be sometimes difficult as a coach, sometimes to having to drag goals out of a client.
Yeah, right.
And often it just comes down to maybe they haven't thought it through so much. So I think it's just like somebody who's very self-driven, very sort of independent, but can create like some really interdependency together with you, so that you can really have a really good teamwork rather than it's the coach pulling the athlete or the other way around. It's like when there's a really good partnership and teamwork going.
Yeah, for me that's one of the most important things as well, mate. Obviously, like you say, that they know the goal, and so you're not sort of always like, am I falling short of the goal as an athlete, or am I falling short of the goal as a coach? Like, we know the goal, we know where we're going, and also that team, like we don't, especially when it's remote. Like, you can't see it all the time, so let's just problem solve a little bit back and forward. Like, how did that actually feel? Okay, let's do it again at this weight or this intensity. And, you know, we don't have the answers, but we're committed to each other to figuring it out.
Exactly.
And I really like that. I also like, you know, something else that you said. It's like a little bit of a mindset that says, okay, I'm lifting this bar. This bar feels really heavy for me. Okay, what am I going to do? I'll continue this 21-15-9, but I'll just have the initiative to go from 50 kilos down to 40. I'll absolutely smash myself, and then I'll just feedback with the coach and say, yeah, you put 50. It felt super heavy in the warm-up. I dropped it to this, and this was the time. Is that the right sort of thing?
Because the fact is, you need to also train your clients to be decision makers, right? And like, they need to be able to make decisions on the spot. If you're even doing a personal training session, and your client is feeling bad in the lower back, let's say, but they're not telling you. And 1 week later, they come again for their session. They're like, man, my back hurts. I'm like, oh, wow, how did that happen? Oh, last week's session really hurt my back during the session. I'm like, how come you didn't tell me? How would I know?
How would I know?
You were moving with great form. Yeah, I know, it just really hurt my back. I'm like, this is not an actual example. This is just like a fiction story. But
it happens, mate.
But like, that's a pretty good, like, I need to know that. Like, You need to tell me that and especially when it's remotely.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have someone, oh yeah, that exercise always hurts. Like, you've been doing it for 3 months, man. How would I know? So, it's just like, I think communication, honesty, and just, dedication. I think that dedication to the teamwork and to the goal is kind of what, but I don't have any favorite. Like, I like the variety of clients. I love that some people want to just, on a fat loss journey, some want to get their first strict pull-up, some want to make it to the CrossFit Games.
I think that's where we're obviously placed, and some would say quite fortunate that we have that nice dissection of clients, mate, and I think that's what keeps things very interesting. If I was just training ultra runners every day or just training CrossFit athletes every day, things would not be quite as interesting. It keeps us more rounded as coaches as well. Mate, I want to jump into this question, because actually this question I put up as question of the week. So each week I put in a question. I bring it down to 2 questions on my Instagram, and I get my followers to vote for question of the week, and I give out a prize. And this guy actually has asked 2 really good questions 2 weeks in a row, and he's been in the running for question of the week twice, and he's not got it twice. But this is one of my favorite questions, and I want your thoughts on it. In your opinion, how will humans as a species go extinct? How are we gonna end? How's it all gonna end, mate? Is it gonna end? It's deep.
I don't think so. I think, like,
yes.
I know. I definitely don't think so. I
want to know what Shine thinks. The man behind the camera. He's looking at us and laughing.
We're definitely doing a lot of stuff to screw up the world, but I definitely think we're gonna be forward thinking. There's gonna be a solution. We're gonna send a lot of people to Mars and create a planet there, or whatever. Yeah, I think
genuinely that's what you think.
Yeah.
Have
you ever read Elon Musk's book?
Yeah.
Man, that guy is onto something. I'm believing in it. I don't know. I think it's so far in the future, but I definitely think humans are smart enough to, when it really comes down to it, take action and sort stuff out. But I think it's going to only come down to when we're faced with the ultimatum. But it's what do you think? That's a deep question that has not much to do with fitness.
It's got nothing, and that's why I love it, mate. That's why I think it's really cool, because I think but I think it's got, and this is even deeper, I think it's got a lot to do with motivation and our deeper purpose. I think what's going to happen, mate, is I actually think we're just going to wipe ourselves out. I don't think it'll happen in your lifetime or mine. I don't think it will happen in your children's lifetime, maybe not your children's lifetime, but I think within the next 300 years, we'll just wipe ourselves out. I think we're doing too much bad to the environment that's destroying it. I think we're eating the way that we are with food at the moment. I just don't think a lot of the stuff is sustainable. I think we're probably don't realize, or no one's telling us, that we're past a point of no return. I think the damage that we're doing on a number of fronts to ourselves and to the environment, I think it's fatal, and I think we're just going to end up wiping ourselves out. And there's more diseases are coming. Like, we've got cures for a lot of them, but I think because of, and this is crazy, and people will challenge me on this, but I think because of economic and financial reasons, the cures for a lot of diseases are not being put out there. And I think that's a whole other can of worms, but I think it's going to be carnage. I don't think we're going to be around to experience it, unfortunately. I don't know about us moving to other planets and that being, I think people like Elon Musk is crazy, mate, but I think the thought process of it's all good, we'll screw up Earth, we'll destroy it, and see you later, we're just going to be hanging out on Mars. Because it's all good there, and we've got a clean sheet, and we can have, renewable this and renew. I just don't think it's going to work like that. I very much might be wrong, mate, but yeah.
Well, let's see. I would love to hear Joe Rogan try to take this topic up. He probably has a podcast on that.
Yeah, he probably does. He probably has quite. I mean, it's actually, mate. It's a question that I want to. It's somehow a bit of a depressing question in a way, because it makes you question, like I've just questioned there, like how we're behaving as humans, what we're doing financially, economically, politically, those sort of things. But I think it's a really cool question. I'd love to have that as a final question. You know how we ask our guests, like, if one piece of advice, like, just don't even brief them with it. And just go, right, this is the final question. In your opinion, how will humans as a species go extinct? They'll be like, we've just been talking about like health and fitness, and you've just hit us with that. So, yeah, I love that. I love that guy's question. And the one in the previous week was super good as well. So,
That one was pretty good. Did you already answer that one?
Yeah.
Was that from the previous?
Mate, read it out. It's a really good question.
What percentage of, in like, question, to quotation mark, the grams, quotation mark, fitness content is objective versus subjective?
Yeah.
What's your answer to that?
Mate, I think a lot of people on the gram, on Instagram, are sharing personal opinions, or not always personal, sharing their content for personal benefit.
Yeah.
So I think it's very much, I think they've got an end game, and I think the end game for Instagram, mate, and you have to look at it. You have to see how people are just making money off this thing. And you have to say, okay, people are promoting stuff that they're just simply not doing themselves. So they're not that's an object, that's their objective. Their objective is to make money out of it. It's not that they're sharing and they're not genuine. Like there's so many people on Instagram that are just not genuine, and people think they're for real. Like, so I think it's again, mate, this is a really deep social issue that we've got at the moment, and we've seen it a lot recently with reports on the impact of social media on kids, YouTube on kids, and these sort of like rock stars, like Instagram rock stars, really, that famous influencers, like what impact they're having on people. I think it's carnage, mate, and it's leading to some real big issues as well. So, agreed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge topic. It's very quite difficult to answer, but I definitely agree with that a lot of people are not genuine, and they share kind of what's in the best benefit for them, and to some extent that's kind of okay too, because you want to do what's good for yourself as well, and that's why you maybe also spend a lot of time doing it. But the main thing should be to share something that helps others, and essentially that kind of helps yourself as well.
Yeah.
By making others feel good, you feel good yourself.
Well, I mean, I think it's a tough situation as well, mate. I mean, I know some people and friends of mine that get paid or have been paid by brands that they don't believe in to do things that they don't believe in, because they get paid a lot of money to post it on their social media.
Yeah.
Like,
that's wrong.
And they've spoken to me about it, mate, and I'm like, and they're like, when sometimes, mate, it could be one-off payment of 30% of a monthly salary.
Yeah, and hence why we also don't have any show sponsors really, other than our other company.
Yeah, that's the thing. So it's like, it's tough, mate. And the thing is as well is that a lot of people have to pay bills. People are a little bit greedy as well sometimes. So they're taking this money and they're putting stuff out there to their followers. And people might have started following you because, you're this genuine, nice, young Danish guy who teaches CrossFit. If you told people to do X, Y, and Z tomorrow because you got paid 50,000 dirhams for it, they're going to believe you, mate. Like, you're such a trusted person that they're going to believe you. And then...
Yeah, it's bad. But some people, they don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Mate, I love this question as well. Pick a training partner. Wim Hof or David Goggins?
Wim Hof. I think David Goggins probably talks too much. But I think Wim Hof is going to breathe a little bit too loud. But so it's a difficult one. But
he's going to be snoring, isn't he?
I would like Wim Hof because he's probably going to be the more quiet or more focused. David Goggins, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of doing as well, but... a lot of talk while he's doing it.
Yeah, I think it's...
what about you?
I think I said Goggins, mate. I think I actually answered that one in last week, and I'm like 90% sure I said David Goggins there. I think it's a really interesting one. Wim Hof is... who doesn't know Wim Hof? Just go and check him out. He's known as the Iceman.
He's fucking wicked.
He's wild. Like, he's a little bit old school guy, and he's probably... There's a lot going around these days about different breathing techniques and this and that, and that's kind of his sort of go-to. He's been on that for a while, and he's been able to regulate his core temperature through breathing techniques. That's what he's claimed for a long time. And I remember seeing him in a documentary, maybe, mate, I don't know if it was 10 years ago, when they're putting him in an ice bath and they're like, okay, we're now going to drop the temperature by 4 degrees to 5 I don't know, 2 above freezing. And he's like, okay, cool. And he's like this old, scraggly looking dude, and he's just controlling his breathing, and he gets out, and like his core temperature doesn't change. I was like, how? And then the documentary then flips to him doing a half marathon in like the Arctic Circle, so on ice. And all he was wearing, which obviously I thought was awesome anyway, was like a Speedo. So he's barefoot. I think they might have given him gloves for his fingers. I was like, wow, this guy's...
I actually saw something like at the hospital, they injected like some virus into his body. And he said within like 1 hour, he would be able to like control that or get rid of that virus. Yeah. And he actually did it. I don't know how legit this is, so don't take my word on it, but it's quite wild. And like, it seems like there's quite a bit of science backing it up too.
I think it's interesting because I was speaking to a guy recently, the big guy that comes for the Gov Games, that takes care of the Dubai tourism team that we're taking care of for the Gov Games. He's like a real life strongman, and he's pulled a jumbo jet. He's pulled a truck, a 12-ton truck with his hair. He's also got videos
with his hair.
With his hair, he's got quite long hair, and he's also got videos of him having a line of Nissan patrols driving over his hand. So he puts his hand on the road, and the Nissan patrol drives over the top. Now that's a few ton car, and it doesn't break his hand or anything. And I said to him, mate, how do you actually do this? Like, is there a technique? He said, honestly, we do some training, but I 100% believe that I was born with this innate gift, this gift from God, that it enables me to do this. Maybe Wim Hof's the same. I don't know.
Yeah,
interesting.
That's really crazy.
You know, it's true as well. Like, and this is probably for another show, but it's like, how can Usain Bolt run that fast? Like, was he born with it? Did he learn it? And that whole learn versus born with comes into it. But I think Wim Hof has something special. I also think Goggins has something quite special.
I think everyone has dealt with a set of genetic cards, and like, you can either, if you utilize those properly, you can do some crazy stuff.
But then you go back to Goggins' story, and it seems like, if you haven't read his book, Can't Hurt Me, we spoke about it a lot at the start of the year, go check it out. You know, his book is like, a lot of it's from anger, mate. Like, he's angry about the way his father taught him, and it was brutal. Read the book, it's insane. Like, he thinks he's got to where he's got out of anger, really. Like, It's not said in as many words, but if you read between the lines on that book, he's sort of done what he does because of his upbringing. So was he born with that skill set to go and do what Goggins does and talk like Goggins talks? No, you could say no. He was a fat dude as well. Yeah. So, yeah, very interesting. I'm not sure who I'd train with, though. I think it was Goggins.
Here's a little more simple question, and it's if you can share some tips on how to run past 30 minutes, as I find it so boring. Leo Tribe Fitness.
Yeah, this is a nice question, mate. And I think it's like anything, mate. How do you get past a 8-minute point in a 15-minute AMRAP? I think people really have to buy into the process. They have to buy into what the goal is and understand why they're there. Like, I've run 3 hours on a treadmill before. Was it boring? Yeah, it was boring in stages, mate. You know, you do 5 hours of training a day. Is it always gripping? No, mate. I think if we're honest, like, there's parts of it that's like, I've just got to get through this, and I'm going to get through it.
And I think with that mindset, that will take you into, like, zoning out quite a bit. Yeah. Like, I always thought that there was something I needed to think about when where like, this is boring or this sucks. And I realized I just needed to zone out a little bit. Like, and then you actually don't really think of anything.
Yeah, and that's really the bottom line. It's sort of a lot of what I say, you know, in all of my talks, mate, is that instead of trying to distract yourself, like, you know, you find it boring. Like, you've got to ask yourself at that point, why am I bored? What's making me feel bored? And how can I make this situation better? Like, where am I taking my mind to? What's coming into my mind? Am I distracted? Am I not really what's going on? And my best tips here is just really to completely clear your mind, and you need to get empty inside, because that's when you can create your biggest focus. Because what's happening here is that you're bored because you're thinking about what's coming up next. you're bored because you're not focusing on the present. Like if you focus on right now, and sometimes you sort of think back and like, okay, why am I doing this, and you know, all of that. But I think at the same time, you just need to be. You know, sometimes, mate, and I know you love this. Like you just go out, sit in a coffee shop, have a cup of coffee, and just sit there. And it could be 5 minutes, it could be 2 hours. You sometimes need your phone, sometimes you just don't. Like if I told you, mate, just go and sit on that chair for 15 minutes, you'd be like, 15 minutes? I'm going to be so bored. But you do it subconsciously, or you go to that coffee shop to create that place. So in certain scenarios, you have to create this place of just being. And until we can do, like, not until, but once we can do that, it becomes quite simple, you know?
Yeah. And
you can go out and you can run for 30 minutes is nothing. Especially most of these runners that send in these questions to me want to run marathons, want to run ultra marathons. Like, I'm going to race tomorrow, or on Friday. This show comes out on Thursday. It's probably about an 8-hour race.
Yeah.
And you're bored running 30 minutes on the treadmill? Nah, it's not
all
like
perspective.
That. It's all perspective, mate. So yeah, they're the tips, and I don't think it's different because I'm into endurance sports, because I've done a lot of CrossFit as well, and as I say, I don't think it's different. The issues, like I think you probably face it as well. You train 5 hours a day. Are you really super pumped for every second of those 5 hours?
No.
How do you deal with it, mate?
Yeah, like, I honestly don't think about it. Like, I don't think whether I'm going to be bored or whether I want to do it or not, because it's just deeply engraved that if you want to achieve a certain goal of a certain size, you know what kind of work it's going to take, and you stop questioning whether you should do it or not, or whether it's going to be fun or boring, and you just get on with it. Honestly, most of the time I never check the sessions anymore. I rock up and I see what it's on, I read through, and I do it.
Just do it, yeah.
Because I honestly don't care what's on.
Yeah.
And I don't want to think about what's on tomorrow, because I need to finish what's on today.
Yeah.
And focus on. I don't look what's on my PM session when I'm doing the AM session.
Right.
I make sure that AM session is awesome.
Yeah.
And then worry about the PM session.
Easy.
And I think
just focus on the present.
It's just one thing at a time, and like it's like if you have, you know, you coach programs for your training peaks and you have billion sessions building up, like, stop wasting time looking at what's going on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Just
get today's done.
Yeah. Look at today's program. What can you do to make that session awesome? And I assure you, if you make sure that session becomes like the best, then you're going to be fired up for the next.
For the rest, yeah.
But if you're already like, oh, goodness sake, if I'm going to run 5K today and 5K tomorrow, I need to save myself a little bit today.
Yeah.
But then all the sessions starts becoming mediocre rather than great.
Yeah. Someone actually asked me that question as well. We're almost out of time, folks. We won't keep you much longer, but someone actually asked me that question as well. They're like, do you think it's better to train always at 70% rather than 100%? And I'm like, what? Where are we even going with this? Like, what really is happening? But I think my bottom line is, mate, is like, you don't have to train at 100% as though you're going to the red zone, but if that program demands you to be at 70% of your heart rate, for example, if it's heart rate training, then you need to be at 70% of your heart rate.
That's the 100% we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what people are not understanding. Like, you're going to do, like, I'm going to yoga twice a week. I want to make that, like, it does make me sweat a bit, but that's not the measure here. But I'm 100% there and I'm 100% in.
Hold up. You go to yoga twice a week?
Yeah.
When did this start?
September.
What? No way.
Yeah, it's good, mate.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's news.
I'll not tell you that.
You didn't tell any of the guys this, I think.
I just told everyone now.
Well,
I put it sometimes on my story as well.
All right, I'm going to speak to Jonesy about this.
Yeah, it's good, mate. It's no, you know, the thing is, mate, is as you know, for quite a while I've sort of been into like animal flow and stuff, and I've battered my body through playing rugby, and I'm not the most mobile, and you know, I was doing like every day like 30 to 40 minutes of animal moves and stuff, especially after I sort of I stopped doing a lot of CrossFit 2 years ago after the Masters Regionals and blah blah blah. I was like, I really need to sort of loosen my body off a bit, so that animal flow was there. And then I got to a point where I was like, I think I can get a little bit better if I go into a more structured environment. And I was speaking to a friend of mine in the UK who does a lot of animal flow, and he's like, mate, why don't you just go to this particular type of yoga twice a week? and it's called Vinyasa Yoga, and it's actually quite good fun, mate. It's like flows and stuff, and it's
That's
not.
awesome.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. And this is no offense to any of the yogis, but I went in the first time and I told the chick I'm not here for all the meditation side. I understand that that's what a lot of yoga is, but I just want to make my body work better, and she was cool with it, and it's cool, mate.
Interesting. Okay.
No idea how we got there, but that's that.
We're gonna catch up in a few months, and we'll see what you think and improvements and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, mate, I already feel a bit better from it, especially when you consider how much running I'm doing and have been doing, and the potential to really trash my body. It's quite a lot. So yeah. I think it works. So yeah, mate, we're almost at 50 minutes. That's probably enough questions for
and we still have 50 questions left.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. I told you I get a lot on that thing. If you guys want your questions answered on a weekly basis, hop over to my Instagram, MJD_Smith. Don't do Andre's because he's not bothered to answer questions because it takes too long. It takes long, mate.
Send me a message instead.
Send him a message, DM him, and he might get back to you. But yeah, that's listener Q&A. Mate, there's a lot there. I hope that was hope that's valuable for people. And mate, we'll jump back in a couple of weeks with a wrap up of the Open. As I said, I think that's super important. And yeah, that's it for this week.
Yeah, best of luck to everyone for the final week of the Open.
Absolutely, yeah.
Always remember, finish strong. A lot of people are losing heart for the last week. Make sure you're not, and make sure you're not backing out. You signed up, you're going to finish it.
Good way to finish. Take care, guys. Thanks for listening.